Dear brothers and sisters, peace be with you. Today, I speak not only as a pastor, but as a fellow traveler on the road of humanity, a humanity often wounded, weary, and wandering through shadows of division and conflict. We live in a time marked by loud voices and clenched fists, but even now the voice of peace must rise, not as a whisper, but as a bold proclamation of hope. Before we begin, I invite you to do something simple yet meaningful. If this message brings light to your heart, consider sharing it with others. Let us walk together on this journey. Click to stay connected and open your heart to future reflections. And if you feel moved, extend this invitation to others, that they too may find encouragement and peace. The journey toward peace always begins with the gaze, not the quick glance of indifference, but the deep gaze of the heart, the kind that sees beyond appearances and divisions. Too often, we pass each other like strangers on the road, unaware that the person before us carries a sacred story, a heart that hopes, fears, and longs just as we do. In every corner of our world, there are invisible walls, walls of suspicion, prejudice, and fear. We label people based on where they were born, what they believe, the color of their skin, or the choices they have made. But these labels are not the truth of who they are. The truth is deeper and more beautiful. Each person is a child of God. Each person bears the divine imprint of love. When we fail to see this, we not only deny their dignity, we also diminish our own. To recognize the humanity in the other is to remember that no one is disposable. No one is beyond the reach of compassion. No one is too different to be embraced. Even those who disagree with us, those who have hurt us, or those whose lives seem far from our own, they too are part of the same human family. The blood that flows through their veins is not different from ours. Their tears, their laughter, their silent prayers, they are not foreign, they are familiar. This recognition does not demand that we agree on everything. It does not erase the realities of injustice or the wounds of history, but it does call us to approach others not as enemies to be defeated, but as fellow pilgrims to be understood. It invites us to open our ears before we speak, to offer a smile instead of a scowl, to ask questions before we make judgments. When we truly see the other, when we allow ourselves to be touched by their humanity, something in us begins to heal. Fear gives way to empathy, anger softens into patience, and the seeds of peace take root in the soil of our shared dignity. Let us begin there with the courage to look into the eyes of another and say in our hearts, "You are like me, you are loved, you are worthy." This is where peace begins, not in policies or plans alone, but in the reverent recognition of the sacredness of each human life. In a world filled with loud opinions and hardened positions, it is easy to forget the sacred power of dialogue. We often speak more than we listen. We respond before we understand, and in doing so, we build walls of division instead of bridges of peace. True dialogue is not merely the exchange of words. It is the meeting of hearts. It is the willingness to set aside our pride, to sit with discomfort, and to listen with humility. When we enter into dialogue, we do not seek to conquer, but to connect. We do not try to win arguments, but to understand lives. Today, far too many conversations are reduced to noise, accusations shouted across screens, sarcasm used as a shield, and bitterness passed off as strength. But this is not the way of peace. Peace does not grow in the soil of hostility. It grows in the quiet courage of listening, in the patient pursuit of common ground, in the gentle voice that says, "Tell me your story, help me understand." Dialogue does not mean we will always agree. In fact, we may hold firm to different beliefs, different traditions, and different visions for the world. But peace does not demand uniformity. It asks for unity in respect. It is possible to disagree and still love. It is possible to be different and still walk together. Let us remember that every time we listen without judgment, every time we speak with gentleness instead of anger, we are participating in the healing of the world. We are building a culture of encounter where no one is silenced and no one is dismissed. To open a space for dialogue is to say to another person, "You matter, your voice matters, your experience matters." And that simple act can open hearts that have long been closed and mend wounds that words once caused. Let us be people who refuse to let fear write our story. Let us meet not in the echo chambers of our own opinions, but in the open field of dialogue, where truth and love walk hand in hand. In that sacred space, the seeds of reconciliation are sown, and peace, little by little, begins to bloom. Forgiveness is one of the greatest challenges of the human heart. It asks of us what seems impossible, to let go of pain when it still burns, to release anger when justice feels unfulfilled. And yet, it is precisely here, in this place of struggle, that the path to peace is forged. To forgive does not mean to forget the wrong that has been done. It does not mean to excuse injustice or to pretend that wounds do not exist. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is not passivity. Forgiveness is an act of strength, a conscious decision to interrupt the cycle of hatred and violence. It is a gift we give, not because the other deserves it, but because we choose to be free. When we hold onto resentment, it chains us. It turns our hearts into prisons, where bitterness takes root and peace is driven out. But when we forgive, something miraculous happens. Not only are we releasing the one who hurt us, we are also releasing ourselves. We are choosing to live not from the place of our wounds, but from the place of our dignity. Jesus showed us this path in the most radical way. As he hung on the cross, suffering unjustly, he did not curse his enemies. He prayed for them, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." This is the power of divine love, a love that triumphs not through revenge, but through mercy. In our own lives, forgiveness begins in small moments. A word of kindness when we could choose silence, a gesture of reconciliation when pride tells us to hold back, a willingness to see the humanity of those who have hurt us. These moments do not erase the past, but they open the door to a different future. Forgiveness also takes time. It is a journey, not a single act. We may have to forgive again and again, each time peeling away a layer of pain. But with each step, our hearts become lighter and peace begins to take root. The world will try to tell us that forgiveness is foolish, that it makes us vulnerable, that it lets others win. but this is not true. Forgiveness is not surrender, it is victory. It is the triumph of love over hatred, of hope over despair. Let us have the courage to forgive. Let us ask for the grace to forgive ourselves, to forgive those closest to us, and even to forgive those we may never meet again. In doing so, we become peacemakers, not only in our homes and communities, but in the very soul of the world. There can be no true peace in a world where some dine in abundance while others beg for crumbs. Peace is not built on speeches or declarations alone. It is built on justice, and justice begins with the care we offer to the poor, the forgotten, and the cast aside. If we want a world of peace, we must go to its very foundations, and those foundations are the lives of those who suffer in silence. Too often, we pass by those in need without seeing them. We become used to poverty, used to hunger, to homelessness, to children without education or safety. Their suffering becomes background noise to our daily lives, but God does not look away. He sees, He hears, and He calls us to respond. To serve the poor is not simply a charitable act. It is a moral duty. It is not optional for those who seek peace. The poor are not a problem to be solved. They are our brothers and sisters, and they must be at the center of our concern. When we bend down to lift someone up, we are not lowering ourselves. We are rising into our humanity. There is a deep wound in the world today, the wound of indifference, the pain of being invisible, of being told, through silence or neglect, that your life does not matter. Peace cannot grow where some are excluded. It cannot flourish in societies that build towers for the rich and forget the tent of the homeless at the gate. Serving the poor does not always mean doing something grand. It can begin with a meal, a kind word, a visit, or even a listening ear. It begins when we stop asking, "What do I have to lose?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" It grows when we see that in giving, we receive far more compassion, humility, a shared sense of our fragile, sacred humanity. And let us not forget, poverty is not only material. There is the poverty of isolation, of abandonment, of being unwanted. There are people surrounded by wealth but starving for love. People who have everything the world can offer yet feel empty inside. To serve them, too, is to serve the poor. To speak a word of encouragement, to sit beside someone in grief, to be present. These are acts of great mercy. When we lift the poor, we lift the whole world. When we include the marginalized, we expand the circle of peace. The measure of a society is not how it treats the powerful, but how it embraces the vulnerable. God is always found where the wounded are, among the poor, the immigrant, the elderly, the unborn, the prisoner. If we go there, not only will we find them, we will find Christ Himself. Let us ask ourselves, who are the poor in my life? Who have I overlooked? How can I serve not from obligation, but from love? For in loving them, we build a peace that is not temporary, but lasting. A peace rooted in the dignity of every person. In the face of war, hatred, and division, it is easy to grow weary. It is easy to wonder whether peace is even possible. We see violence on our streets, conflict in our homes, divisions in our nations. We hear the voices of cynicism saying, "The world will never change." But amid this noise, a quieter voice speaks, a voice not of despair, but of promise. It is the voice of God, the God of peace. Peace does not begin with politics, though politics must serve it. Peace does not begin with institutions, though institutions must protect it. Peace begins in the heart of God, and from that heart it flows into ours, like a river watering dry land. When we are rooted in God, we do not merely wish for peace. We become instruments of it. We carry it within us like a light that no darkness can extinguish. Trusting in the God of peace means remembering that we are never alone in the struggle for a better world. It means believing that even in the chaos of human affairs, God is still working quietly, patiently, through small acts of love, through hidden sacrifices, through ordinary people who choose kindness over cruelty. It is He who turns our efforts, however small, into something lasting. This trust is not naive. It does not ignore the real suffering of the world, but it refuses to believe that suffering has the final word. It looks upon a broken world and says, God is not finished yet. We trust not because we are strong, but because He is faithful. He has overcome sin and death, not in theory, but in the flesh, through the cross and resurrection of Jesus Christ. This is our hope, that love has already won, and peace will follow. When we pray for peace, we are not sending wishes into the air. We are joining our hearts with the will of God, who longs for His children to live in unity. When we act for peace, we are not wasting our time. We are participating in the unfolding of His kingdom. Every moment of mercy, every effort at reconciliation, every refusal to give in to hate, it all matters. It is seen, it is used. Let us place our trust not in weapons or wealth, but in the Lord who walks with the humble. Let us draw near to Him in silence, in prayer, in the Word, and in the faces of the poor. He will teach us the ways of peace, not as the world gives, but as only He can give, a peace that does not crumble under pressure, a peace that endures. So do not be afraid. Even when the world trembles, hold fast to the One who is our anchor. Keep sowing peace with your words, your hands, your life. The seeds may be small, but in the hands of God, they will bear fruit beyond what we can imagine. Peace is not a dream, it is a promise, and the God of peace is faithful. Dear friends, the world may be divided, but our hearts do not have to be. Let us become a people of peace through love, through courage, through faith. May we go forward together, not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters in one human family. Let us pray, live, and act so that one day the world may truly say, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Thank you. May the Lord grant you His peace.